we go. It is 1:07. Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. We're broadcasting live right now on YouTube TV, Facebook, Instagram, and of course our home, CentralValleyTalk.com. Austin Reed hanging out with you on this Wednesday. Beautiful shot of the Tower District in Fresno behind me as we're seeing some partly cloudy skies this afternoon, but it's still a gorgeous day. Hey, from California to Florida we go. Our next guest joining us live via Zoom is Gary Roen. He is an author. Good afternoon, my friend.
Hi there. Glad to be here, and this is fun.
Great to have you with us today. So tell everybody your story. Let's start from the beginning.
Well, the beginning is that I got into the publishing world in 1973 with my parents. We started a publishing company to sell and promote my dad's book, True Crime Case, that happened here in Central Florida. Later years, I got it published as a paperback. And then years later, I got into the business with publishing and meeting all these different people as a salesman, doing radio, TV, and having some friends and doing all kinds of shows that got me into doing book reviews. I've been doing the book reviews ever since something like 1979, and now I write for MidwestBookReview.com and many, many other publications throughout the nation. During that whole time, I wrote short stories, but I never really thought they were too good. They were science fiction short stories, but I was never really happy with them until I went back to University of Central Florida and got my degree in English, but I got it in the tract of writing, and I thought it was hilarious when UCF people told me, you can't do what you're trying to do. I said, what's that? And they said, take 2 writing courses at the same time of short story writing. I said, excuse me, I'm a professional writer. How is it that I can't do this? And I did. And so I got my degree, but many of the stories that I had from those courses are now in the first collection called Journey from Legacy Book Publishing here in Orlando area. And they were courses that I took and learned my craft better. And in fact, I had one that was in a short story collection called Computer Legends, Lies, and Lores, and it was a Twilight Zone type story. But when I did the new one with the UCF course, I saw a world of difference in the writing style, and I incorporated things in it that I had never known to do. And one of my professors taught me something else. He said, don't be like a movie and do a flashback as the beginning of the story. Tell it from the beginning to the end. And that's the technique that I learned from my dad when he did true crime reporting in the magazines and the books he wrote. And I was also an agent for another book that he did that was called Evidence of Murder. And it was a case that happened here that had world attention. And it just seems Orlando has all these murder cases, Casey Anthony and a lot of others. And the judge in Casey Anthony was also the judge in Evidence of Murder.
Okay.
And so we did that book, and that was one that we took from one of my dad's articles. So my history of writing has branched out, and I'm doing reviews, interviews, and different things. But the short stories are my favorite thing to do because it's me playing. And I've got an example of a story. It's called Traces. It's in the second collection called Slotsky's World, and this is the beginning. Stacy and Myron Beagle loved their residence in Christmas, Florida, until one day, after returning home from shopping in Titusville, they found it completely gone. And I won't say what happened to their house, but it was completely gone. And it was a solid home. It was not a trailer. It was not a whatever else you would think, but it's gone. And they find out what took it, and that's the fun of the story. But it's a science fiction twist of a story. And I grew up in the age of the Twilight Zone, the original, and they were written by some of the best authors you could ever have.
Right.
One of those in particular is Richard Matheson,
Mm-hmm.
and he wrote the I Am Legend. He wrote Omega Man. You know, we remember that. That's the same story. But he also did one, Bid Time Goodbye, I think it was called, and it was turned into Time After Time. No, it was turned into um, uh, the Chris Reeve movie with Jane Seymour, and it's Somewhere in Time. And great movie, but he always had a twist of an ending. And one of the stories that always held my attention was Button Button. We saw it as the box. It was not a very well done movie. And it's my hope that if my stuff is ever done as a movie, that'd be great. But I have certain standards that I have in the writing. One of those is I don't like toilet humor. I do not put it in.
Mm-hmm.
I do not use four-letter words unless it's swearing, unless it has some bearing on what's going on with the character or the story. Otherwise, I don't like to use it because I find movies all the time, and I get them, you know, Blu-rays and different things, and almost invariably, I will shut it down after 4 or 5 minutes because I just don't like the language. And it's not I'm a prude, but you don't have to hit me over the head with it, and that's what they do. The things that I try to do with what I do is I try to tell a story with a beginning, middle, and an end. And I know I'm in good company because I attended a sci-fi convention in Chicago, and Jack Williamson asked me, I've always wanted to ask a reviewer what you look for. And I said, I can't speak for all people who review, but I look for an author who tells me a story with a beginning, middle, and an end. He paused, he didn't say anything, and all of a sudden, and everybody around him started laughing. They thought that was hilarious. And here is this god of science fiction telling them that's what I've been trying to teach my writing classes for years. And that was one of the craft that I learned. As a reviewer, I've learned another, and that is to not overuse certain words. I've got a book called Fighting for Space. It's been reissued, and I won't read it because the first page has she ran, she ran, she ran, she ran at least 5 times in one paragraph, and that is the first paragraph of the book. Very first paragraph of the book. That's too many times. You can use and say it differently.
Right, right. Going back to Twilight Zone, you know, Rod Serling was a king as well, and an amazing author. And then fast forwarding to today in 2021, we've seen, you know, different versions of the Twilight Zone come out on television. In my opinion, there's only one Twilight Zone, which started in the 50s with Rod on CBS. But, you know, we look to today, and true crime is and sci-fi is one of the most popular and loved subjects, whether it's on TV with shows like Forensic Files and you know, John Walsh creating America's Most Wanted. So do you see just such a love for this from your fans and readers?
Yeah, I do. And one of the stories in Slotsky's World, the second collection, I based on one of the true crime stories that my dad wrote about. And it's called Spider. And I won't say exactly what that is because people have to read the story. But what I learned also is that when you write, you have to have a hook for the reader to want to continue the reading of your book or whatever it is you're writing, your short story, no matter what. It's just like a good movie. You have to have something that locks you in from the very beginning and takes you all the way through. Too many things today don't. And the new Twilight Zone, I tried to watch it, got the Blu-ray collection of the newer one on the stream service. I will not touch it because...
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Well, see, if we're every single character using it, I don't know how many times, and it just bothers me. Yeah. The story, they even did one of the most popular Twilight Zones, The Beast from 20,000 Feet, the one with William Shatner on the aircraft, the aircraft.
Looking out.
times, and each time they've done it, it's been okay. But the last time, no, it is not, because you don't have in regular context of people talking that way. And I know
Right.
I did a review years ago of a particular book that was supposed to be the 1930s. It was a pale ripoff of The Grapes of Wrath. And I went to the library and I said, please excuse me for what I'm going to say, but I want to know, was this word used in context? And the woman says, oh, no problem. Let me look. And so it was the F word. And she came back and she says, no, the only place it was used in context in that time was the military. So, I knew I was right, and that was another reason I didn't like the book. If he's writing about a period piece, then you got to be very accurate. That's why I like Downton Abbey. But I watched a movie the other day, Parkland, turned it off, and here's why. I served in the military. I served in the Army, and I was in basic training.
Thank you
The
for your
weapon,
service.
oh, thank you. Um, and the weapon we used was an M16. I remember they told us when it was brought into production, and it was 1964. Parkland is all about the assassination of John F. Kennedy, and at the hospital, how they took care of the people who came in from the wounded. The first thing I saw was the CIA or the FBI people outside of Parkland, and what are they carrying? M16s. Well, that's 1963. It did not go into production until March 1964. They didn't have it. They did not acquire the weapon. The government did not acquire it until March. So I turned off the entire thing. And it's a minute little thing, but I picked up on it. And so that's what you've got to be careful of when you do anything where you're involving a period piece. So I'm very careful to do certain things, and I take poetic license, and say at the end of the story, I did this, this, and this, because this doesn't exist. One of those is I have a story taking place in Boston. They do not have a restaurant in the Hartford building. They do in Chicago. So I took certain liberties and put it in. You can do that kind of and get away with it, and also state at the end of your story that you did it. This is supposed to be historically accurate, and it's wrong.
We've got about a minute left. What's the future for you and your books? I know that maybe one day a movie production order could come your way. What else? What else are you hoping for?
That'd be nice, but people can acquire my books. I talked to the publisher today. That's legacybookpublishing.com. They also have no shipping charge. I've tried to see what Amazon's doing. It's out of stock in Amazon. It must be popular, but Legacy Book Publishing is where you can get copies right now. And just check out and look my name up, and you spell it Gary Roen, Roen. The books are Slotsky's World and Journey. And I thank you for having me on the show today.
Yeah, fascinating conversation. Gary, I will have to read one of your books very soon, okay?
Oh, thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you. Good to see you. Take care. Enjoy the Florida sunshine.
Oh yeah, always, always.
All right, you're watching
sunshine.
Central. Yeah, thank you, brother. You're watching Central Valley Talk. I think I'm watching Central Valley Talk. I'm on it. I don't know. We'll be back with another guest coming up in just a bit. Hang tight.